Alright, hey guys, it's Nigel here once again, and doing another movie review, and this one is going to be about the Uncharted movie that just released recently, starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Now, of course, as per usual, I'm not a professional at this, I'm not a professional movie reviewer, just a man who enjoys a good time, and I must say, actually, I had a pretty good time watching this movie. Reviews for this movie have been somewhat mixed. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But I liked it. It was alright. And we're gonna get right into it. So, first things first, of course, first we do pros and cons, but we also gotta do a little bit of preparation and why I was a bit apprehensive to see this movie. So, when it was announced that Tom Holland was going to be starring as Nathan Drake for the Uncharted movie, I'll admit, like many people, I had my reservations because as Tom Holland is 24 years old, so he's a pretty young guy. He's not that much older than me. Nathan Drake, however, by the time of the first Uncharted game, was quite a bit older, at least like early 30s. He's by the time of the first Uncharted game, which released in 2007. So, we were a bit nervous. We were like, "Whoa, wait a minute." Tom Holland. I like Tom Holland. I don't mind him as an actor. He's pretty good, but he's not like Nathan Drake. He's way too young to be Nathan Drake. But I think here Tom Holland actually did a pretty decent job, and of course. We've got Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, aka Sully. So this is more of like an origin type film, in which some of the origins of how Nathan Drake and Victor Sullivan, aka Sully, ended up meeting, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was touched on in Uncharted 3, either Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3, but there's a full-fledged movie dedicated to it, and we're gonna get right into the pros and cons. The pros is that I think Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland as Sully and Nate respectively, I think they did a pretty decent job, even though they're a lot younger. Even Mark Wahlberg seems kind of young to be playing Victor Sullivan, because of course by the time of the first game, Sullivan has like gray hair, mustache, and everything, and that's not really the look we're getting for Sully here, but I do think they play their roles pretty well, and you can tell, even though they're a lot younger than they're supposed to be, they do have some of the mannerisms down packed. Of course, Nate, he's kind of crafty and everything, but he's also a good guy to the core, which is how the regular Nathan Drake is supposed to be in the games. And then Sully, he's the veteran. He's been around the block a little bit. He's seen some things, done some things, not that he's not too proud of, but he also has that like mentor sort of vibe to him, and from what I've been able to gather from the movie. So to see him being a mentor to Nate here, or even when they butt heads a little bit, I think works for the most part. And we also have some other characters that we see that make their way into the Uncharted series. We have Chloe Fraser, who she's actually not introduced until Uncharted 2, but it's implied that her and Nate have some history. She makes an appearance in this movie as well, tag along with them until she ends up betraying them. And, of course, on the beach there's a cameo by Nolan North, the guy who voices Nathan Drake in the Uncharted games. So it was pretty cool to see him there as well. The other thing I liked about the movie is that not only have they nailed, no, I guess nailed, if you want to call it that. And not only did they get the personas right of the characters, but they got also some of that feel right. So the thing about the Uncharted games is that there's a very heavy focus towards treasure hunting and clues leading to the treasure, and we do get that here as they chase after some treasure, of course, buried on a pirate ship. because hey, it's Uncharted. So we got those aspects in there, and I think that works pretty well, for the most part. But then we also have quite a bit of action, which is something else the Uncharted games are known for, and it better have some action, because that's one of the crowning achievements, and what's always been one of the crowning achievements for Uncharted is a lot of the action. And these people aren't like super gymnasts and everything like that, and which I will have to touch on a little bit, but they do who find themselves in crazy situations as such. But yeah, so there's that as well. Oh, so we got Race to the Gold, which is also pretty present in Uncharted, and we also have of course the action as well. And I do who have to applaud the movie for their restraint when it comes to a character that wasn't supposed to be introduced just yet, but is a focal point in Uncharted, is Elena Fisher. So, she ends up meeting Nathan Drake by the time the first game actually rolls around. That's where they meet and everything. But thankfully, she's not here in the movie. Nothing against her, of course. In fact, she's actually probably one of the favorite characters in the Uncharted movies, not Uncharted movies, Uncharted games that people really like. They really like the chemistry between her and Nate. Of course, they do end up getting married, so she's the love interest, but they aren't supposed to meet yet. They aren't supposed to meet until years down the line, by the time Nate's a lot older and everything. And the other thing I do like is Sam Drake, Nate's brother. So Sam Drake, who is believed to be dead, turns out at the end of the movie is turned out to be alive, which was kind of the case for Uncharted as well, though it wasn't until Uncharted 4. So it's so Nate finds out Sam is alive. This is in the Uncharted 4 video game, and that goes from there. But to see him have some sort of role in there, not just Nate's brother, but also providing the biggest clue to lead Nate to the treasure, honestly was pretty cool to see. And to see that he's still alive was pretty cool as well, even though both Nate and Sully believed that he was dead. Of course, Sully saw Sam get shot. I try saying that 5 times fast. But Sully saw him like get shot and thought he was dead, and Nate's pretty upset about that. But see him still alive is pretty cool, and it's ironic that Sully saw that in the movie, because the same thing ends up happening to Sully in the first game. And he's believed to be dead for a little while until it's discovered that he's not. But in terms of what I didn't like about the movie, there are just a couple things. For starters, I feel like Nathan Drake is a little too athletic. Now, granted, Tom Holland has experience with that before. He was Spider-Man for a while. But Nathan Drake is not Spider-Man, and that's one of the things that's always been the case with Nathan Drake, is that he's not supposed to be this like super athletic gymnast, super athletic, pretty much superhero levels of agility. No, he's supposed to be like almost like a regular guy. He has some competency when it comes to like movement and agility and stuff. He has some competency. After all, he is a treasure hunter, but he's not like super agile like Tom Holland was kind of being in the movie. But I say it kind of works a little bit, because this is supposed to be a much younger Nathan Drake by the time, like I said, by the time we get to the first game, Nathan Drake is a lot older. So I feel like they kind of were able to get away with it, but seeing Nathan Drake in the movie pulling off all these super athletic stuff, it's like, whoa. Oh Jesus. But the other thing I didn't really like was all the double crosses. Now, double crosses have happened in the Uncharted games, but to see so many of the characters turn on each other was like, whoa, it's pretty excessive, I can't lie. And the other thing is that the main villain, which is a twist villain, and the twist villain didn't really get a whole lot of time to we saw her chase after the treasure, of course, and try to stop Nate and Sully from getting into the treasure. And her name's Braddock, by the way. But um, ultimately, she doesn't get a whole lot of time to shine, which I think kind of sucks. But yeah. So there's that. But overall, I did like the movie. Now, as to why people didn't like the movie, I think it might be because they can't get over how young the characters are, as opposed to how they should be. And I think at first that did kind of turn me off a little bit towards the movie. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to see this, but I did end up seeing it. But I think it does kind of work. Now, when it comes to like portrayals, like how it is from the source material versus how it is in the movie, and this is just my personal rationale. Also, if you disagree with it, that's totally fine. How I see it is sometimes liberties can be taken. It can work out pretty well. The MCU has taken quite a few liberties. There's some stuff that happened that didn't happen in the comics or happened differently in the comics, but it kind of works out because it fits into that narrative, and the narrative is still pretty solid. The only time I think it doesn't work out as well is when, and it ultimately proves to be to the detriment of the narrative, where something's changed and it doesn't work in the narrative, and the narrative suffers because of it, or a different part of the movie suffers because of it. So, for example, there's two movies I want to look at to prove this argument here. The first is the Last Airbender movie, which I am going to be watching at some point, pretty much just to say I did, and because I feel like I need to watch it after having watched the Avatar: The Last Airbender TV show. I feel like now that I've actually seen the Avatar: The Last Airbender TV show, will I hate the movie even more than I already do? But I gotta be honest, I'm not looking forward to it. But in terms of that movie, one of the reasons why it failed is because the characters seemed to have no chemistry. There was no build up. There was hardly interaction between the characters. Now, granted, this TV show versus movie. TV show, of course, there's a lot more time because there's multiple episodes. But even in a movie, like Uncharted, you can still get that across. You just have to have them really interact, and there was little to none of that in the Last Airbender movie. And of course, in the movie, the bending sucked. The bending was very slow. They did a whole bunch of moves just as to produce like little tiny bits of bending. And that didn't look that great versus the show, where everything's a lot more fast paced, and every movement and really made the bending feel that much more special, and it pertained well to each character. Of course, I'm going to use an example from all four types of bending. So for air, Aang was very light on his feet, very fast, and very crafty. So the air bending that he was able to do in the show really reflected that. Katara, she was more defensive with her water bending. She used it as offense, but she also mainly used it as defense. When it comes to fire, Zuko was very aggressive, so his firebending looked aggressive. And with Earth, Toph was able to use the environment to her advantage, especially being blind and everything. So she was truly able to be in tune with the earth, which is why her earth bending was as good as it was. But we got none of that in the movie. Toph wasn't even in the movie, which thank God, because she would have been ruined. But the other example I wanted to look at when it comes to narrative is not working as well is the Ratchet and Clank movie, the other PlayStation movie that we've gotten so far. But when it came to that movie, the main problem was that there was very little Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank were obviously in the movie, they had to be, but there was very little interaction with them. It was mainly Ratchet and the Galactic Rangers, or Clank and the Galactic Rangers. They even had more interaction in the video game that went along with the movie than they did in the actual movie, which sucked because as we saw in the original Ratchet and Clank game from 2002, probably one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time, is that they interacted quite a bit, and we got to see them gel together as characters as time went on. Of course, the whole reason they were there in the first place together was because as Clank had the latest in robotics ignition software, which could start any ship, and so Ratchet needed to keep him around, but we got to see them gel as characters. The movie, on the other hand, they pretty much saw, Clank has the latest in robotic ignition software, and that's his whole purpose, is just to get Ratchet from point A to point B. Meanwhile, Ratchet's hanging out with the Galactic Rangers, and Clank's hanging out with the Galactic Rangers, but Ratchet and Clank barely interact in the movie. And I think that was definitely the detriment for that narrative, because how is this Ratchet and Clank when there's very little Ratchet and Clank? There's Ratchet, there's Clank, but there's no Ratchet and Clank. But to see the Uncharted movie, he sort of fixed that, where Nate and Sully were there together for a long while. We got to see them interact. We saw them as characters gel with one another. I think it worked out a lot better than the Ratchet and Clank movie. But that's gonna do it for this review. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the Uncharted movie. Did you like it, dislike it? If you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend checking out, just to come up with your own conclusion on the movie. You may agree, you may disagree with me, with others, but definitely see the movie for yourself. And honestly, that can go for any movie. See it for yourself. I think the main thing is that a lot of people see reviews and stuff like that, and they sort of take it as like gospel, like if this person said it was bad, therefore it must be bad. And no, see it for yourself. Now, there's some movies that even if you haven't seen it, you definitely know it's bad, and because you've heard it said so many times, and you may have seen like tidbits from it. Like The Room, we know The Room is bad. It's so bad it's good, but it's still mostly bad. But in the case of this movie, definitely check it out for yourself to see. But that's gonna do it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.